All right, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Greene, AMTV. Like and share this video, please. Love you guys. God bless. Hope all of you are having an amazing day today. So let's talk about the news. It is the 21st, and Evergrande basically goes into default. That is the large real estate conglomerate really out of China. China is not, like I said in yesterday's video, going to allow it to fail because it is a systemically important company and part of the Chinese empire, so it'll be backstopped. They'll paper over it. Again, nation states can print currency from nothing. It's not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold, so they just print it at the printing presses, and they can continue to bail out any entity or company that they want. Same thing they've been doing here in the United States repeatedly ever since we went off the gold standard. They keep hiking the debt. There's a debt crisis, which I think we're probably going to get one here in the next few months as Republicans and Democrats bicker, and then eventually they paper over it again, creating inflation, lowering your standard of living, and creating an environment where the cost of everything goes much, much higher. Housing, rents, education, food, energy, and your standard of living keeps declining, which is what's happened over the last 50 years or so, much throughout the baby boomer generation. And we're seeing this gross wealth inequality, this flame to the fire, really just pour gasoline all over it, is now we see large companies basically monopolize themselves and take out all small and medium-sized businesses because of the policies in Washington, D.C. Again, they're essential, you're not. So all that this has been, and I've been talking about this for years, is a prepared wealth transfer to very few hands. In fact, Biden was speaking today at the United Nations and said, now it's not a time for war, as he pulled out and let the Taliban actually declare victory over the United States over the last 20 years of a failed operation, a failed war, and then even went as far as to leave. This is incredible, like $84 billion worth of equipment, so now the Taliban can just do whatever they want with it. So in Biden's eyes, it's no longer a time for war, it's a time for what he calls relentless diplomacy. Relentless diplomacy, whatever that means, as he arms with nuclear-powered subs Australia and does an underhanded deal, basically pissing off the French at a time of, well, a lot of instability around the world. I mean, you're probably seeing what's going on in Australia right now and parts of Europe with the protests and stuff. It's pretty incredible. So this wealth divide is only going to continue. And as I told you yesterday, Evergrande is just FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It is a time to buy the dip. To buy the dip in stocks, to buy the dip in crypto, to buy the dip in Bitcoin, to buy the dip in XRP, to buy the dip in ETH, to buy the dip in ICP. And I go over all this at school because I'm not saying there's not going to be a Mad Max scenario in the future where the stock market potentially drops 80, 90%, which it should and probably will, but not yet. But not yet. See, that's where I think some of you are wrong, and we're all entitled to our own opinions. I'm curious what your opinion is. Put your comment in the comment box below. But the way that I'm playing it as a buy the dip moment. Nothing has changed. Inflation is here to stay. And look, bailouts are to infinity. The Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Jerome Powell, said they're not even going to raise rates until like the second half of next year in 2022. Guys, rates have been at zero forever, since 2008-09. They never budge, and they're not going to taper. Because by the time they think they're going to taper, even though they're not really going to taper, there'll be another crisis. There'll be another geopolitical event. There'll be another health event. There'll be something thrown into the mix that they can place blame on and kick the can down the road forever. So what they're going to do is incredibly, incredibly obvious, and that is to continue the wealth transfer, continue the inflation, arguably hyperinflationary event here in the United States, make most people poor. Okay, they're going to launch UBI, Universal Basic Income, in the not too distant future after everyone's broke, and they're going to empower themselves with more money and just that, power, which is what we've seen all throughout history. Nothing's changed, guys, in thousands of years. Kings and queens rule this world. And freedom, as I've said for years, largely, it's like the big takeaway here at AMTV, is an illusion. If you don't believe me, just take a look around you and see what's going on now. Basically just shows you have no rights and people don't care. And they're not really doing anything about it. So again, trust the plan. This is where we are headed. Also, if you look at the bond markets, you look at the debt market, for example, things are very stable. Look at the 10-year yield, stable. Okay, so you'll know we're about on the edge of the precipitous fire, so to speak, when the debt market gets rocked, like 2008-09, like what we saw in Europe, in places like Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Spain, and Greece. That's called the Pigs Nations, where there was a debt crisis. If you see the 10-year yield and other debt and bond markets in the United States spike aggressively, that would be the signal to get out. But if you pull a chart of the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, any of these other indices, buy the dip. Buy the dip because it's a guarantee that the Fed is going to intervene in the short run. I'm not saying this is going to continue forever. It's not. But you should be prepared now, and you should profit immensely from the greatest engineered, pre-planned hyper-bubble event, wealth transfer in world history. And I'll let you know when I think it's the top. I'll let you know, but we're going to hit records. Bitcoin's going to break 100K. This is a buying opportunity, in my opinion. You make your own financial decisions. This whole market is a buying opportunity. There's select stocks that I think you could continue looking at. Real estate's going to keep going higher, and the wealth divide's going to continue to grow. That's what they want. You control people through food and water and money and travel and all these current things that we're seeing today. So I think people are starting to wake up to this, but what you have in the world today are just a few companies that control and dominate everything at will. Notice these companies are now starting to buy commercial buildings in the city. I told you that they would do that. They were clearing out the cities to bankrupt medium, small landlords, right? Can't collect rent. People can't be evicted. And then the big companies are going to come in Hunger Games style and rebuild out these entire city infrastructures for themselves. And they're going to be in ivory towers in the cloud, eating popcorn or pate or whatever it is these people do, while they look down, thumbing their nose, domineering on the rest of the masses that got screwed. And that is literally what is happening. So I look at it as an opportunity. I know we're going to the moon. I know it's a buying opportunity in crypto and Bitcoin. I know that this is the time to be learning even more about this stuff, even for myself. I spend much of my time just researching new opportunities, researching new projects at school, looking at other investments that I can potentially make, businesses that I can invest in, etc. Because there is more opportunity in disruption and crisis than there is when times are normalized and they're good. Just like the wealthy are getting wealthier right now, you should too. I mean, that's literally what is happening. So just a quick video today. That's what I think is going on. Again, I think our guidance here on this channel, my opinion, has been right on. It's been right on for the last 13 years. I mean, people told me Bitcoin was going to zero. It didn't. People told me it was going to go to zero at 3,500 last year. It didn't. Keeps rocketing higher. It's the #1 asset class in the world. An ETF, an exchange traded fund, will be announced at some point in the future, along with future trading equivalents for Bitcoin and Ethereum, I believe, and probably even XRP and some of these other investment classes as well. So that's going to be a huge boon. And the people that I know, the wealthy, are buying here. So we're not at the cliff yet. Expect a greater hyper bubble in the short run as we get into next year. So I think 2021 is going to be great. I think it's going to carry us well into 2022, as I said yesterday and all this week, as I've been keeping my eye on over the last few months. What I am far more concerned about is a geopolitical event coming from the East. I'm much more concerned about Taiwan and what China is doing there. I am much more concerned about the South and East China Seas. I am much more concerned with what Biden is doing with the submarines out in Australia and the diplomacy. He says it's so relentless. Yeah, you're so relentless. That's a joke. So that's what I'd be looking at. Now, at some point in the future, there will be a reversion to the mean. The Federal Reserve will not be there to backstop. We'll probably enter a Great Depression. Stocks will probably collapse 90%, and that would be expected and honestly healthy, because all of this is based on a Ponzi scheme right now. And then they're going to transfer it all to blockchain, CBDCs, UBI, Universal Basic Income, and they're going to socialize what was once a capitalist-free country, and it's just going to be basically like every other country in the world, fully integrated and relentlessly diplomatic. So that's the truth, guys. I'm Christopher Greene. I love you. Click the link below. I want to see you at school. Got new picks this week, new potential cash flow opportunities, new ideas I think a lot of you are probably missing. So get in it. Also, in addition to that, is another bonus of becoming a member today. Click the link below and become a member right now. You also get all of our historical AMTV videos archived. So you get every single video that I make, and that's just another bonus, is becoming a member of the BitcoinRich.com community. So make sure you do that today and get in before it's too late, before we're hitting 100K and beyond. I love you. Jesus Christ is King, and I'll see you at school.